Have you heard that some DNA tests can tell you if you have the muscles of an athlete? There's a gene that is actually referred to as the super athlete gene, based upon how it helps your muscles function. Before we talk about what this gene does, we should first go over the different muscle fiber types. Skeletal muscle fibers are found throughout most of your body. Any voluntary movement is going to be through the use of skeletal muscle fibers. These fibers have a striated appearance and can contract, allowing muscles to move bones. How quickly these muscle fibers contract separates them into three groups. Slow oxidative fibers contract more slowly than the other two types and take longer to fatigue. These are the fibers that would be used when you aren't moving too much, like for holding your posture. The reason that these fibers don't fatigue rapidly is because they are very efficient at using aerobic respiration to create ATP molecules, which store energy. In this process, oxygen and glucose are converted into ATP within the mitochondria of these cells. To be able to create a lot of energy, slow oxidative fibers contain more mitochondria than other fiber types. Because slow fibers need oxygen to contract, there's also extensive blood flow to these regions. Red blood cells contain hemoglobin, which carries oxygen to these fibers. Slow oxidative fibers also contain a protein called myoglobin. Myoglobin binds oxygen within these fibers, trapping it in order to help with contraction. Myoglobin contains a pigment that looks red, which is the reason that slow fibers also appear to be this color. This is actually why meat can appear red or pink, and why after the cells die and myoglobin is destroyed, the meat turns gray. Fast skeletal fibers can either be aerobic or anaerobic. These fibers contract more rapidly than slow muscle fibers and are quicker to fatigue. Fast oxidative fibers primarily use oxygen as their fuel to produce ATP in mitochondria, but they can switch to using only glycolysis to produce ATP in the cytoplasm, which is a much less efficient process. This sometimes happens when you exercise a lot and your muscles don't get enough oxygen. Fast glycolytic fibers use glycolysis only to provide energy. Glycolytic fibers fatigue faster than all others because ATP is hydrolyzed to release energy faster, and less ATP is produced per cycle compared to aerobic respiration. Compared to slow oxidative fibers, fast oxidative fibers contract faster, produce ATP a little slower, and contain less myoglobin, making them a lighter pink color. These fibers would typically be used when you're performing a non-strenuous movement, like walking. They can become fatigued, but it typically takes some time. These fibers are sometimes called intermediate fibers because their function lies in between that of slow oxidative and fast glycolytic fibers. Because fast glycolytic fibers only produce ATP through glycolysis, they are the fastest to fatigue, but also the fastest to contract, since glycolysis is a very fast process. The high level of tension in these fibers allows for explosive movements, like jumping and sprinting. Because these fibers use anaerobic respiration, they do have very few mitochondria, and they contain almost no myoglobin, making them appear white in color. While these differences may seem very substantial, most muscles actually contain all three fiber types. Going back to the super athlete gene, can you guess what it does? It quickly produces hemoglobin when oxygen levels are low. Some people have a variant of this gene which allows the aerobic muscles to continue on without fatiguing and increases the ability to perform explosive movements. Lucky them!